Well, hey everybody, Backyard Scrapping here, and welcome to part 2 of our multi-refined video. This is actually our drop from the RAM and the LCD boards. We did get a little bit of a drop. We may have got even a touch more than I expected, but there's really not a bunch in there. I'm actually going to go ahead and get that filtered off, or not even filtered off. I'm just going to strain it off, get that melted up so we can see what we got out of that. I actually moved our foils from our pins so far into this bigger beaker because that's where we're going to dissolve it. We have these processors that we may do. I'm probably going to do those today, and we're just going to continue on. I'm going to turn those back on and keep trying to get rid of that metal, add some fresh acid to it. Just wanted to show you right quick, there's nothing in here. I don't know what those pins are made out of or what they came from, but the only thing floating in here is trash. I'm not seeing any foils at all in there. So anyhow, I'm going to get to work. First thing I'm going to do is get this off. So I'm going to get this fluid off of here, try and get that into a crucible and get it melted so we can see what we got out of. So that's actually our first complete finished drop. So I will melt that and I'll get back with you and show you guys what we ended up with from that. Then I think we're going to go ahead and do these bad boys. It's not going to be a ton there too, but there's probably going to be more there than there is out of that, all that stuff. So we'll get back at you guys when I'm ready to show you some gold. Okay guys, I rinsed that gold and cleaned it up from the quote, I'm going quote, ram fingers. I already had the extra time in it. I want to show you something, and I want to point some things out, maybe to help save somebody else some trouble down the road. We already know what this stuff is. That's LCD. That's crap. Okay. The way it was cut, it looked like ram fingers. My bad for not paying attention, but this is what I want to concentrate on right here. Alright, there was approximately, in the supposed ram bag, okay, and I'm not blaming anybody, this is my fault for doing this, okay, and it's my time that went into it for basically, I'll show you in just a minute. Alright, remember I don't know if you guys remember the unboxing when I unboxed this stuff, but these were like 10 extra boards. They had heavy gold plating on them, so I said that's fine, we can throw those in with the ram because the material is going to come off in foils. Okay, this was also some extra stuff that was in the ram bag that also helped disguise this stuff, because that looks, I mean, when you're quick moving and you got these fingers in there and you've got this other little bits of junk in there, you know, I deceived myself. Okay, there was approximately supposed to be 500 grams of ram fingers. Okay, right here, ram or fingerboard fingers, 500 grams. Okay, now in my head I know, and I had just done a kilo of ram fingers, so basically this is a half a kilo. I almost got 6 grams of gold out of my own kilo of ram fingers. Okay, so I know that they're going to yield anywhere from, you know, 4, 3.5 to, I've heard them yield up to 8 grams a kilo. So in my head, even though I knew there was some extra junk in here, and I'm not counting the weight of these boards, okay, because these actually had some foils on them, I'm just thinking in my head the 500 grams of ram is going to yield at least 2 grams of gold. Right? I mean, at least. That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario would have been 3 or 4. I took the time to separate this all out because I'm already way into this for the amount of gold, time-wise, that we got out of this. And it's because of these things, because of those. And because I didn't separate them. I'm also going to show you something else. I'm going to try and put this on macro and get out in the sun. I want to show you why it is so bad to put these in with anything. I mean, with anything. You need to do these completely and totally by themselves. And as you can see, the separation, there are some things you can put together. This stuff I knew was going to drop foils. I knew this was going to drop foils like ram fingers drop foils. That back there does not drop foils. It drops specks. Now, one thing I'm going to point out, anybody who's ever watched anybody pan gold, which I used to also gold prospect, all right, what do they say? Classify, classify, classify. Meaning, get the like size material in the pan. Strain it down so that each group is the same size so it's easier to recover the gold. This is why I separate my scrap normally when I am going to do any kind of a job, even my own stuff. I separate it into stuff that I know it's going to do. I knew this was going to be foils, I knew this was going to be foils, and I know ram fingers are going to be foils. I didn't pay attention that those were very well cut, very well cleaned LCDs. They looked like ram at a glance. Now, what is the majority? No, you can't even count these because these are gone. Those were extra. So there's 500 grams of material. Okay? I'm guesstimating 500 grams of ram or ram-like material. So I'm in my head, like I said, worst case scenario, we're talking a couple of grams of gold. Best case scenario, 3.5 grams of gold, 3 grams of gold. So that's what I'm thinking, all right, till I saw those. Once I realized that the majority of what was in here was LCD boards or backs that were just trimmed so they very much resembled ram, I knew it was over. The party was over. So I did our melt, and there it is. That is 1/3, 0.3 grams of gold out of what was supposed to be 500 grams of ram. This gold right here came from that 100 grams. A little bit came from here, but the majority of that gold came from this 100 grams of ram that we're seeing right here. Didn't come from all that back there, didn't come from those over there, and it didn't come from that. The majority of this gold right here came, which is 0.3 grams. It should have been a minimum of 2 grams. If it was all ram, came from right here. A little bit came from here, and a little bit came from here. Almost nothing came from that back there. All that was a waste of time of me having to clean it and clean it and clean it and keep cleaning this stuff over and over and over. And I know I sound a little aggravated, and I am, because I'm aggravated at myself because I never should have put these in with it. Now I'm going to show you why. I'm going to try and get this thing set on close up, and I'm going to show you the back of one of these guys, and I'm going to show you why it's so hard to clean up stuff once this mess is in it. Alright, I'll be right back at you. Okay guys, I can't really see through this viewfinder when I'm on close up, but do you see those little tiny specks on there? There's actually some bigger ones on there, bigger than normal, but there's tons and tons and tons of little teeny tiny specks of gold. Alright, this particular piece or this particular back off of one of those boards has already been washed and rinsed 3 times, and you see how much gold is still stuck to it. Now granted, that's not a lot, and it's really not worth the time to go after, alright, but I don't like leaving stuff behind. This is what the LCD boards do. Alright, so not only do your ram foils and your other foils still stick to them just like they do to the ram once they come loose. Anybody who's done ram knows it's kind of a pain to get it all cleaned off. But this is what comes off the LCD boards and sticks to everything. So, you got to rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse to get a little tiny bit of gold. Alright, once again, like I said, this is my fault. I should have separated that material out and not really even processed it. I should just put it in a pile to send back, but I never really opened the bag and looked at it. I was in a rush. I dumped it in a tub. I dumped acid on it. I put a cover on it and went about my business. My mistake. But had that been 500 grams of ram or ram-like material, we would have got 2 grams of gold. Okay? Because it was LCD boards, we got 0.3 grams of gold. So, I mean, you go after that material if you want to. I'm not saying it's not worth it to keep it or save it, but that's the difference. I even said 20 times less, 15 times less, 10 times less. Yeah, very, very easily close to that. So basically all of our gold came out of that RAM and off of those other boards, which isn't even counted in that 500 grams of weight. Alrighty guys, I'm going to get back at it. I'm still filtering, so we'll talk at you in a bit. Alrighty guys, another day has passed. We finally got another batch of these pins dissolved. I'm actually going to start filtering them off. I believe those are all gone. We still have a few left in here, so I'm going to put that on the heat. These I'm just going to pour the acid off of. This is almost 3 weeks, and all I'm getting is these are looking like copper. I don't know what they were plated with, but there are no foils showing up in that whatsoever. So I know I've said it before, but this is a good reason why to do things separately. If I would have mixed all those pins up, magnetic or not, those ones that are in that coffee pot, they would have been a hindrance to getting this part done. So once again, separation, or as they say in prospecting, classify, classify, classify. There is probably a couple 100 grams of pins in there. They aren't doing a thing. Apparently there is nothing on them. So yes, we did have around 2 kilos of pins, but we can minus, you know, about 200 grams. You can see all this other stuff. You can see all of it is working. This has nothing. So I don't know what they were made out of. I don't know exactly. I'm going to try and figure out what they were, because there's a couple of different kind of pins in there. There's not just one type of pin, but none of them are doing anything. I mean, they've been 3 weeks, and we don't have a foil floating in there. So that tells me I'm going to just salvage this acid, pour this off, and those pins can go in the poo-poo bucket, because there's nothing to them. Alright, so I'm going to get to work on the rest of this. I'm actually going to turn the hot plate on again, and we're going to heat this up, because we still have a little bit of metal left in this one. We're going to get it dissolved today, I hope, and get the rest of these filtered off. So we'll be back at you in a bit. Okay guys, I've been out here about, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours today. As you can see, we've got all our stuff cleaned up. We currently have the last bit of the pins dissolving. There's still a little bit of metal down in there, so I kind of just filtered everything off, and this one that was sitting over here in the coffee pot, next to the coffee pot, that was doing nothing and has done nothing, but there was still a little bit of pins in the bottom of that, so I actually transferred them to this beaker, put some fresh acid on them, and we've got them on the heat now, so we're going to finish those off, and we will be done with the pins. Now I am 21 days right now. Today is the 21st day I'm into this refine. Alright, now granted, not every day has been, you know, I've been out here working. Some days I just came out and turned the heat on and went back in. But still, like I said, 21 days. 21 days and 6 gallons of acid. And there's our results. Other than what's up in that beaker I just showed you up there, that's our foils, our filters and our foils. I'm filtering off this last little guy over here from some extra water. But that's that. The next thing I'm going to do are the BGA chips and these processors, and we will then be done with this refine. I actually tested those pins that did nothing, that sat out here actually for 21 days, never floated a foil. I put a little bit, some in nitric acid, and as you can see, they were copper. They just turned, turned the nitric acid blue. I have no idea what they were plated with, because I didn't get any foils. So either it is such a fine flash plating on those that I can't even see it, but They did dissolve, and they are copper. So what was on them, I don't know. I don't know if it was brass. I don't know if it was another type of plating or something else or something new. I have no idea. But anyway, I just want to show you our little stack of pin foils. This will be the last time you will see me do a video on, you know, doing somebody else's pins. I will now, from now on, only take the foils. You will have to put them through the whatever stripping process you choose is fine with me. Doesn't make any difference, but I'm only going to take the foils. I'm not going to take the whole pins anymore. I've got 2 more jobs that have pins in them. I mean, we're looking at another, you know, 20 days, 30 days. I'm actually going to try and get those started really quick. So as soon as this last little bit of pins dissolves, that will be the end of doing job refines where I strip the pins. Like I said, I will be more than happy to take this just like this. You could send me your foils like that on filter papers or however you want to do it, and we'll do it that way, but no more pins. These guys actually are fine. Like I said before, any type of ceramic processor, you just send the whole processor, because we're just going to smack those up with a hammer and put them right into Aqua Regia. Guys, I am pooped out. My area is cleaned up a little bit again. I'm finally getting a little bit caught up. So I will get back with you when we go to process these, and when we go to do that little handful of BGA chips they sent, see what we can get out of those. So we'll see you all in a bit. Okay, everybody, I just wanted to show you that I'm getting the processors ready. I'm going to go ahead and do this part so I can leave it sit overnight, and we'll get back at you in the morning. Well, good morning, everybody. It is the next day. I just turned our burner back on to work on those pins some more, the last of the pins. You can see we got some foils up there. Still got a little bit of metal left in the bottom. There's our processors and tops. They are completely dissolved, so I'm going to go ahead and get this filtered off. I know that color looks so great, but that's actually iron from the processors. But we don't have any metal left in there, so I'm going to set up my filter and filter that stuff off. Get ready to do the drop. And we'll probably get back at you when we see what kind of a drop we got out of this. So far, the only thing that's left to do now are those pins, which once they're gone, that filter will go into this beaker, and we will do that. And I still have to do the BGA chips. So, and there's not many, just a handful of BGA chips. So what I'm going to do is actually probably just pyrolyze those and crush them up, rinse them, and you know, go ahead and dissolve the gold. But anyway, this, you know, naturally is going to be a dirty drop because of all the iron and ceramic processors. That's just how you do it. So I'll get back to you guys in a bit. Okay, guys, we're going to just pop in here for a second. I am going to denox this with urea. We filtered it off once. That's the filtrate, or the filter paper from it. This is the filtrate, or the Aqua Regia. It's very, very golden. It's so golden it's black or brown, but that's from the iron. But I am going to denox this with urea, and because of that, I'm going to put a couple drops of sulfuric acid in it to drop out any lead, even though we do have a very contaminated solution here. I haven't been real pleased with how the sulfamic acid has been working. I know a lot of people like to use that. I have always used urea. I mean, just recently I started trying sulfamic acid, and maybe it's just because I'm used to using urea. I mean, I can tell the reaction better. But anyhow, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Then I'm going to filter this one more time through that same filter, and then I'm going to drop it, and we're not really going to see anything, so there's no point, because the solution is so dark and, you know, and so contaminated, we're not going to really see a drop. So we'll just get back to you when we see what kind of gold we ended up getting out of this. And then at the end, we're going to weigh all this stuff up, hammer it out, because I am going to do a button out of each batch, hammer them back out, and re-refine them. So, alrighty, I'll get back to you in just a bit. Okay guys, we are filtering that off. Our last little filter full is going through after I denoxed it and put a little sulfuric acid in it. I did want to show you a little spot of good news, and I'm not a great one-hander here, but I want to show you something. Everybody knows I was very disappointed with our boards and what they yielded, but I want to show you the gold that we have so far. That was from those, you know, the fingerboards over there and the miscellaneous boards. All right, it's showing 2.6 now. Let's see. Let me tear it once. I think it's about 0.27, 0.28, 0.29. Anyway, I remember I was saying it was about 1/3 of a gram. Well, I let our rinse water settle, and our other aqua regia, I let it settle real good because that was very cloudy, so I let it actually go an extra couple of days, and got that little booger out of it. So we got 0.17, 0.19, 0.15, so we'll call it 0.1719. Anyway, we ended up with, from the boards, almost 1/2 a gram, which is good. So that's actually, it's better than it was. I feel a little bit better about this. Now granted, this has not been re-refined yet, and what I'll actually do is hammer this stuff out and re-refine it, but I just wanted to show you we did get a little bit more after out of the filter water and the rinse water. So it's probably anywhere from 18 to 20, 22 karat gold, these little buttons right there. So, or beads, you should actually call them. They're not even really a button, but I did want to show you while I was filtering because I was kind of getting bored. I'm actually going to start prepping these BGA chips right now. But so we are at about almost 1/2 a gram so far. So that is I think it was 0.46, 0.47 total. So that's a plus. We did manage to squeeze out a little bit more gold out of that. So that makes me happy. Anytime we can get a little more gold out of something, it's always a good thing. All right, guys, I'm going to start prepping this, finish filtering that. I'm not going to do a drop on that because you're not going to be able to see anything, so there's no point because, you know, you're not going to see any kind of change or anything. So I did test it with Stannis. We are showing gold in solution. So when I get that dropped and get that bead cleaned up and melted up, I'll bring you up to date on where we're at. We're going to do these BGA chips probably next. We're still waiting on a little bit of pins to dissolve so we can finish our pins up. This is all the filter papers and foils from our pins. So that'll probably end up being the last thing that we actually dissolve. Alrighty guys, I'll get back at you in a bit. Okay guys, I was just getting these BGA chips ready. She sent them with the backs on them. Don't send them that way. There was only a handful of them, and you know, I just told her I would do them for them, but I only accept the tops. Don't send them with the backs on them. The reason I am cutting in right here is I wanted to show you something. There are some of these BGA chips that actually do not contain gold. The bond wires are copper. I am not sure which ones those are, but I think we actually got 2 of them here. We actually got one that has the copper plate on it and one that doesn't. But the reason I'm thinking that is because when you flip it, it looks very coppery, and the only gold on the back is the corner. So, you know, normally you see the little bit of gold in here on the back of a, you know, almost any BGA chip. Now here's the same thing. Once again, no gold here, and it's coppery looking. If you take it out in the sun, the little heads, the little points all look like copper. Now I don't know for sure if, you know, these are just copper. From the looks of the bases, you know, I'm not seeing any trace gold at all. So I am just assuming they are. But anyhow, I'm going to throw them in because I'm not sure. So this is what we've got. We've got these, which this type. Always remember too, if you're buying these, you're going to get a lot more gold per pound of these than you are these, because these have that copper plate that goes all the way through. That's a big, nickel-plated piece of copper. So anyway, let's throw these on this scale and see what we got in them. And I've never really even done a batch this small, so I'm actually going to burn these because I'm not going to do them in sulfuric acid. I don't like messing with it. So we've got about 61, a little over 61 grams, 61 1/3 grams of the ones with the copper plates. And like I said, if you're going to buy them, these are definitely, you're going to get more material out of them per pound simply just because there's not that big copper plate in it. So we had 61 of the copper plates, and these are little guys. I'm not expecting a huge yield off of this, but like I said I would do the job. I'm going to do the job. And we got 5.99, and normally I only, I do these when I get around a pound up to about a kilo of them, so this is going to be nowhere near that. And we got almost 30 grams of those, 29.42 grams. So we're not going to get a ton of gold out of this, but anyway, we're still going to go through the process. I did just want to show you those two that had the, no gold trace under them. So I'm thinking that those actually are going to be a waste, but it was only 2 of them, and I'm not positive. So anyway, we're going to get these ready to go. Like I said, we're up there finishing off the last bit of pins, which is almost gone. There's our pin foils. There's our drop from our ceramic processors, which, like I said, you ain't going to be able to tell anything because it's very, very contaminated. And our little bit of gold that we've recovered from the board so far. So guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and call this video. We'll call this the end of this part, and I'll get back to you in the next video and the next part of this one. And we're probably going to also be starting another job refine that I have had sitting for a while that there was no rush on. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and probably get that one started too. Alrighty guys, we'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.